Ladies and gentlemen, Metal Gear Solid 3 may be the single greatest video game ever made. Literally, it's so good, I might launch a series of video essays on just why it's so stinking great. So, of course, our boy Maxor, who always is true and faithful and accurate to the nature of these games, gives us an incorrect summary of Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's get into it.
World War II.
And we are going to be finding out if he's just ruined this deep classic that's near to my heart.
The world was split into two, Based and Cringe. This marked the beginning of the era called the Cold War.
Those meme wars, man, they were brutal.
Bike Pedal Solid 3 is a game developed by world-famous movie director split-day-old Josh Inmon, in which you are tasked with the defeat of communists in the jungles of Siberia.
Yeah, that actually doesn't make any sense. Like, as far south as you can get in Russia. Though the former USSR, you could have gotten as south as the Black Sea, maybe, possibly, sort of. If you squint real hard, it could be like a jungle. I mean, so I think actually the game is a Vietnam, one layer of interpretation of the game is a Vietnam allegory.
The height of the Cold War, and tensions between the forces of Based and Cringe have never been higher. In the backdrop of this international struggle, our hero must brave dark forests, high mountains, and two separate console generations. The aim of this virtuous mission is to extract the Soviet scientist named Sokolov, working on a secret project for an invincible weapon of war, and with great ambition, determination, and a will.
So here's the thing. It's really hard to extract civilians from anywhere. Like, really hard from a hostile area. One example is the U.S. recruiting scientists from Germany as Germany was being defeated in 1945. But this was a little different because this was something that was very carefully arranged, and the scientists had a lot of say, and of course major combat operations had ended. They weren't being actively hunted. It was just as easy as making sure that the right people found those scientists and then used their military credentials and connections to move them quickly through the front lines to avoid getting them caught up in the massive refugee crisis that followed World War II. So it was not a Solid Snake parachuting in behind enemy lines to kidnap Werner von Braun, right? This would have been a probably colonel who, drove up in a Jeep, was like, oh, Mr. von Braun, and 6 other scientists in your family. Okay, show me your documents. All right, hop in the Jeep, come with me. That would have been it.
To stop the forces of evil, our hero, Naked Snake, that's his real code name, begin preparations for the plunge below and the perilous journey which lies ahead. But first, a warning. I wanted to record the HD version of the game in order to get better footage, but unfortunately that's only on the PS3. Then I remembered that my computer is a PS3, but there might be a few bugs. You get up in the air and your partner's like, don't throw your smoke on the gasoline. The door opens and Snake
Yeah, ironically, so far he's completely true. This is how this game opens.
decides to jump away from the burning wreck. Boy, Snake, you go on growl if you get.
See you, man. That's all right with me. I always appreciate me, man.
Snake gets as far away as he can from that and ends up on the jungle floor. Now the virtuous mission can finally begin. Except no, my mom is calling me. You've been ignoring her philosophy lectures for 5 years before she finally caught up to you. Now you can finally listen to her talking about. Now it's time to head through the.
Yeah. The boss is actually considered one of the best video game villains of all time. And here's the thing: there was a meme tier list of villains, and I think it actually was one of those memes that spoke to something really true. The bottom tier are villains who are bad, and bad people are villains. An example might be Voldemort, right? Or a Darth Vader. These are people who have turned to the side of evil and they perpetrate evil. Maybe like a children's cartoon villain might be a good example. The Decepticons, for example. Very little backstory. Evil is evil. I have turned to evil, therefore I do bad things. There's not really complex motivations. The next tier are people who are evil but have a compelling reason to do so, to enact their being evil. So this would be something like the villain in a thriller or maybe a murder mystery, right? So they're maybe Patrick Bateman. Yeah, Patrick Bateman would be a good example. Here's someone who they move through the world with a different set of values than you and I, but they are evil, but they form clear intent. They come up with plans, they enact them, right? And that would be like the tier 2. The final tier of villain, though, is what I found most interesting. These are villains with compelling, meaningful worldviews. Or sorry, the second to last tier. And this would be like Doctor Doom, who believes that or Lex Luthor, who believes that like Superman is a threat to the world by his existence and must be stopped at all costs, right? That's a compelling worldview, even if it makes him a villain. The final tier of villain, the most compelling villains in fiction, are those who have a case for doing what they do that is so airtight that you the viewer actually find them in some ways more compelling than the hero. The Dark Knight's Joker might be a good example. People really respond to that, where he expresses this worldview of people being evil and sort of depending on the social conditions, and that by breaking down those social conditions, Bane might be another good example. A sense of, he lives in a world of vast inequalities, and the only way to restore equality is to fundamentally level the playing field, so to speak. So that would be actually, I think Bane is a better example here. Joker is like that B tier, right? Where he's out there saying, oh, I'm compelled by a different worldview to do things that you find evil, right? Bane would be an example of a the S tier villain. So the Boss is another example of an S tier villain, where she's a villain, but by the end of the series, you're like, actually, this villain is probably one of the most compelling characters and might actually be the real hero of the series. And you might go, man, Snake, the protagonist, may actually have been the villain.
The lush swamps of Siberia and die. The Russians patrol these jungles, so you must head through slowly, carefully, and methodically. That includes the bee attack. You finally reach the factory where Sokolov is being held and beat up everyone like it's high school. You get to Sokolov just as he exterminates the last of the Twilight books. Sokolov explains to Snake that he's actually being kept there for his safety by the KGB. There is an internal power struggle in the Soviet Union, in which a faction of radical communists seeks to kidnap him and take power for themselves. This faction is headed by none other than Emperor Palpatine. The motivation, ideology, and also practice of all these forces.
I think in lore and in the real world, it's like a Brezhnev faction, who was actually a former Soviet premier who butted heads with Khrushchev. The internal workings of Soviet politics are extremely, extremely Byzantine and involve constantly shifting alliances among senior ministers who kind of control different aspects of government. And you would basically become premier by building a consensus around how things should be run.
Forces remains at large,
and so you would exterminate your rivals, oftentimes literally exterminate your rivals or potential rivals, and you would ensure that those heading the agencies that you needed support from were most likely to be loyal to you, either because they were competent and shared your worldview, because you had a long history together and a high level of trust, or literally because they were empty suit yes men who weren't competent enough to stand up against you.
Time is of the essence, so you make your extremely.
But these sort of power struggles between two factions would have been actually pretty common.
Lois, hurry up. Please.
Free!
Fuck! Finally, a real American.
You're from the Oslot unit of Spetsnaz. What's a GRU soldier doing here?
I came here to gesticulate for no reason. I suffer from a disorder in which I must wave my hands around randomly.
What?
Now, Snake, tell me, is it true that in capitalist America, hordes of pigs can appear from nowhere and kill children? I don't think that's accurate. Amazing! I'm going to meet.
Okay, if you don't know, that's a meme reference to a tweet about why people need an AR-15. They claim the 30-round mag is for hordes of pigs that attack children. FYI, guys, if 30 pigs show up, man, just hide your kids.
Yow now. What? So Snake beats his ass, right?
That's a real noise he makes in the game.
Him unconscious and the scientist safe. You run into the forest to go find the scientist and enter the bridge of bad lip syncing.
Capable of launching nuclear IRBM.
You see the giant tank Sokolov's working on. It has a giant cannon. It shoots really big. Your only option left is to take him back to the States. So you cross the bridge where you see your mom. Your mom is voiced by Pearl from SpongeBob.
That suitcase is full of bees, Snake. I'm defecting to the Soviet Union.
You mean the forces of Cringe?
Those are relative terms, you imbecile.
So the communists use bees to kidnap Sokolov.
Wait, ironically, that's actually the core thesis of the game, and it's that the idea based in Cringe are relative terms. It's sort of like the meme where you have the Soy Jack and the Chad, and the meme is just, as you can see, your side is I have represented your side with Soy Jack, making you the cringed one, and my side is represented by the Chad, making me based. And it's just like proof that yes, you can. Everyone thinks they're the Chad and someone else is the Soy Jack, but in fact, we're all sort of Chads and Soy Jacks in relative terms.
Palpatine shows up, finally.
You're no more than one bad day away from becoming a Soy Jack meme, Snake.
My plans are coming together. Throw this yee ass honky off of the bridge. Holy shit, I have hands.
You fucking weirdo.
Snake wakes up on the shore and is contacted by HQ. You'll have to listen carefully.
I just want to point out that in lore, the boss intentionally didn't kill Snake, but there's no way you could throw someone off a bridge and be like, definitely not dead.
In order to manually treat your injuries with the proper supplies.
Healing is divided into treatment using medicine with the item window button. Fixed using surgical treatment. The healing once
Hope you got all that, bro. Snake bends his bones back and then leaves off screen. Meanwhile, Palpatine decides that it's time to dispose of the evidence.
Can't begin to tell you what a bad idea it is to shoot a recoilless rocket out of a helicopter for a variety of reasons. Again, that backblast area, if you've seen anything on my other channel, the backblast area is another explosion, right? So you don't want to hit your helicopter with an explosion. You don't want an explosion to happen inside your helicopter, right? Now, obviously, the explosion of a recoilless rifle firing or an anti-tank weapon firing isn't as powerful as, say, the business end, but it's still pretty powerful, and it can definitely kill or wound a soldier who stands behind it directly, and it can destroy delicate equipment like, say, everything in a helicopter.
It's been 1 week since the Virtuous mission, and your radioactive ass is being sent back to the jungle again. The Soviets blamed the United States for the explosion, and the world is on the brink of nuclear annihilation. In order to save the world and prove our innocence, you must head back into the jungle and stop Palpatine's plan to overthrow Khrushchev. This is the beginning of Operation Snake Eater.
Imagine having like multiple broken bones and then having that landing.
You then walk 13 feet before seeing your mom again. Seriously?
Snake, you deserve to be placed in a box and laughed at. You see those big fucking squares in the ground there, Snake? Yeah, take care of those and we'll talk.
You're forced to sneak around for a very long period of time. Can you crawl faster? You go to Sokolov's house again to meet with your contact, but she arrives in a loud motorcycle. You are unsurprisingly found by the guards. Don't worry though, she's prepared. Okay, they're gone. She spawns her hair and then reveals her real name, Ava, which is a stupid name. Then she show her huge booba to Big Boss the Snake. I am talking Largo Bazonka Donkos. Dust.
Yeah, FYI, I mean, okay, so this is a reference. There's a lot of references in this game in particular, but what I find most fascinating is the James Bond references. There's a lot that happen, and one of the tropes in James Bond is that women will throw themselves at him and he will just welcome their advances, despite the fact that about 50% of the time, they're obvious enemy agents, and they're obviously trying to sleep with him to get him in a compromised or vulnerable position. And so the fact that he continually just says yes, despite the fact that this is obviously a really bad idea, is like comical. So the fact that this person shows up randomly, unzips her jumpsuit to reveal a bikini top for some reason, is just, you should set off all kinds of alarm bells in any actual adult's brain. That said, there is a long history not a long history, but also it just happens frequently, of attractive female Chinese intelligence agents who embark on romantic relationships. And guess what? They are always with American divorced men who are 2 decades older, who work in extremely technical roles for civilian Department of Defense contractors. And every time, they always get arrested for stealing their secrets. These people don't have great infosec. Here's the thing. Common sense would tell you that you should not sleep with this. If you're a 50-year-old overweight divorcee, you probably aren't really going to land a 29-year-old, slim, attractive Chinese national. It's just not going to happen for you, bro. But they target people who don't have common sense. These are massive technical nerds who are designing the intricacies of a satellite system or a warhead reentry vehicle, right? They're not targeting Mr. Common Sense here. Anyway, it's a common practice.
Pan-sized Donkey Kongs. She gets you to sign up for her OnlyFans and then gives Snake a gun, which he likes more.
The feeding ramp
Long
is
tight
tight.
She gives you a scientist disguise and tells you to go to sleep. In fact, the game encourages you to stop playing it. Snake wakes up and dastardly villains appear outside. It wasn't a good idea to sleep within 20 meters of a disappeared patrol. They break in, so you toss a flashbang at their asses and then gun them all down like dogs. Oh, you again. You will be answering most of my questions or her head will fall off. Is it true that in capitalist America that you pay for healthcare in blood? I mean, not all of us. What? So Ava beats the shit out of him and he's like, I have to go. With that taken care of, you progress on your journey through the jungle.
Yeah, gotta love these parodies, man. What was weird is that actually in the 60s, 70s, 80s, the Soviet healthcare system was actually considered one of the best in the world. They had a whole bunch of innovations that no one else had, especially in the field of public health, right? Their doctors were considered top tier. Their public health system, right? Obviously, rural people struggle to access it, but that's true of basically every country that's ever existed. And don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here simping for the Soviet Union. They fucked a lot of things up. But because healthcare is all fucked up when you try to run it in a free market. Why is that? Well, because the free market depends on consumer choice. For example, I don't buy a Lamborghini because the value I would get from a Lamborghini isn't worth the price tag. If you offered me a Lamborghini for $10, I would take it, right? Because I have consumer choice. Now, let's say replace that Lamborghini with, a life-saving drug. Let's say I got bit by a snake and I needed an antivenom. Well, I would accept that antivenom if the price was $10, if it was $100, if it was $100,000, I would accept it I would sign away all money I will ever earn in my life in order to get that antivenom because otherwise I die, right? So when you're talking about life and death decisions, like getting a diabetic their insulin, the idea of supply and demand meeting in the center doesn't apply, right? The price is whatever someone is willing to pay to be alive. And the answer is they'll pay anything to remain alive.
Along the way, you encounter swamps, alligators, electric fences, minefields, disappearing dogs, and non-consensual python consumption films. With nothing but a pistol in hand and an iron will to see things through, you breach the jungles and head for the facility where Ocelot stands behind a rock. God damn it. Tell me, American, is it true that in capitalist America there is no such thing as the village toothbrush? The what? Fascinating! Listen to my cat impression. So now it's actually time to fight Ocelot. The battle is actually fun, but is extremely dated by modern standards. Ocelot struggles greatly with object permanence. If he can't see you, you don't exist. You trade blows for hours, shooting each other in the face multiple times. And after a long and exhausting battle, Snake finally closes in for the kill with multiple bees. Wait, Ocelot uses an extremely viable way to kill bees while everyone else dies, and Snake is forced to jump off a cliff to escape the bees. Snake then promptly eats a hornet's nest to get revenge. Welcome to the
FYI,
cave area. Fuck the cave area. It's literally so dark that you can't tell when I cut clips. You swim through the dim tunnels until you find the crabs.
guys, it would be absolutely terrifying to swim through a tunnel underwater. Just here to tell you, sheer panic.
That killed Amelia Earhart. You then eat the crabs, absorbing Amelia Earhart's life essence into your own. Now, with the light of Amelia's soul, Snake is finally able to escape the caves and face the enemy which lies beyond.
My physiology is comprised mostly of bees. Finally, I get to fight you. I am the paint.
Do you mean the pain?
No.
Much like the
Yeah, this is a real villain. The real lore is that he's a super B guy. I gotta say, this is one of the least compelling boss fights in the series, but it's still an entertaining boss fight.
This battle can be used as a test for infants. Whenever you disappear from the water, the pain forgets that you exist, allowing you to get a quick hit before diving underwater again. He would be screwed if bees weren't bulletproof. He also uses bees to carry grenades instead of just sending bees at you. But after a long time of poking and prodding, you eventually bring him down and he explodes into fire. Why? Now we can leave this fucking cave. You head through dangerous canyons and swamps filled with Russians on fucking spaceships, only to arrive at the warehouse just in time to glimpse your target. Sokolov is refusing to cooperate, and that's not very communist of him. Ocelot shows up for no reason, juggles guns at him. The boss then shows up and kills my goldfish. She tells Ocelot not to worry about Snake and that the B-Man has it covered. Then Palpatine punches a wall like a Kyle and everyone goes home. Except, of course, for Jesus, who promptly performs a miracle. Mr. Bernie Sanders, it's an honor. See you swimming.
Gotta love. Okay, the end is one of the best bosses in the entire game. 100-year-old sniper photosynthesizes. Truly a
To
Chad.
the base, taking care not to be detected. And after needlessly murdering all of the guards, you carefully sneak into the warehouse, through the warehouse, and through the guards. You head through a mysterious forest until you're caught by a snare trap. At which point, the game insults your intelligence by assuming that you can't get out. You finally enter a location called... Entering this highly secretive lab will require great skills and bullet mastery. Crawling through the walls, you slowly make your way into the lab.
This is a real summary of like the entire game.
Once inside, you don your disguise and put on inconspicuous face paint. They noticed me. After murdering everyone, you proceed to the main office where you find this fat guy, and he's just like, holy shit, Snake, you are sunburned so
This is the most Soviet bureaucrat I've ever
badly.
seen.
Can I please give you lotion? He tells you that you're in the wrong base, and what you're actually looking for is the impenetrable fortress of Groznygrad. There's also a gigantic stash of money over there that's giving Volgan all his power. Snake, a greedy
Yep, gotta love it. Giant stash of money is the real superpower, not the supernatural control of lightning.
capitalist heads there immediately. That means it's time again. Got one all the way back. You ran so far that it became daytime.
This is the second lamest fight in the game.
I filled that arrow with heroin. You're about to have a fucking blast, my dude.
Come.
Later, bitch. I'm Spider-Man.
So the battle starts with the game literally telling you how to get rid of the heroin. I don't think it trusts you. The Fear is a boss who jumps around like a hungry cat. He also doesn't have an issue with basic cognitive function, making him one of the best bosses. The battle is a matter of tracking the movements of your camouflaged enemy while dodging his arrows. All the while, the arena is filled with traps and AIDS needles. Eventually, Snake makes it through the homeless camp and purchases a stolen bike to hit him with. This kills him instantly. Alright, so the crackhead...
Okay, this is actually sort of physically how certain types of grenades and like claymores, for example, work. Let's say you have a guy who, for some reason, his entire body is covered in bolts, darts. Well, if he were to blow up, in the lore, they all have bombs implanted inside them. When they die, their corpses will explode to ensure that they have plausible deniability and that they don't get traced back to their home governments, which is stupid at the outset because this unit supposedly fought together in the Cold War or in World War II, where if you found someone sneaking around, right? Like if the Germans found a supernatural bolt cutter man, they would just assume he was from the Allies because who else would do such a thing, right? So why would you have to disguise who you were with? Like, oh, we're going to trick them. They won't know who we are. no shit, dude. You're from the people we're actively at war with, of course. So there's not really, that's sort of like a weird plot hole. But point is, if you were to blow something up and it was to be covered on the outside with maybe not bolts, right? The bolts wouldn't all go straight. But if you were to cover them with, you know, another kind of bolts instead of crossbow bolts, just nuts and bolts, yes, that would send all of those nuts and bolts outward as shrapnel, really tearing up any person it were to hit, though it wouldn't do much damage to equipment.
Head is died, time to go. You go through the warehouse before killing the guards and then looking up the exit. I'm lost, Mom, please pick me up. Now I know. You head through when Ava calls you, telling you to get your ass to the secret tunnel in the mountains. Also, watch out for Bernie Sanders, he's coming. You go for a peaceful walk in the forest and then dodge the worst trap ever made. Then you begin a cutscene. The gameplay between bosses was 10 minutes. You will be receiving healthcare by force.
After all, is free healthcare not the definition of communism?
What the fuck?
It's absolutely not the definition of communism. One, it's not free. It's paid for with taxes, okay? It's not, communism would be literally if it was like, not quite free, but it was like you actually, well, even communism, you would do a job and then the doctor would do their job, and like you would all live in a society where you just sort of traded stuff. It doesn't make a lot of sense because it produces this like do your job to the bare minimum incentive that just doesn't really facilitate progress. Even the Soviet Union never really considered themselves communists. They never achieved a commune, obviously. There were still people who had nicer things and people who had shittier things.
I will be pushing Donald Trump down the stairs. It's time for another boss who can process stimuli. But unlike previous encounters, this boss is slow, methodical, and deadly. Kojima originally wanted the boss fight to take 3 weeks in real life, but was told no by a trained gibbon. The boss fight mostly consists of sneaking up on your target and chipping away his health. It's a cat and mouse game between two equally matched stealth operatives. And if you don't play the game for a week, he dies of old age. Fortunately, I didn't do that, so I got to watch him change race and explode. Now that America is safe from the clutches of real-life, actual, in fact, communism, it's time
Yeah, I could see Kojima wanting that fight to take 3 weeks in real life.
to head up a ladder and head to the mountains above. If you've played this game, you already know.
This is an iconic scene.
This is the ladder scene sped up by 1,000 times. You'll notice that takes a long time. We're barely halfway there. Albert Einstein was a German-born theoretical physicist who developed the theory of relativity. We're here. Gibbons are apes in the family Hylobatida, the family history. Welcome to the mountains.
So this actually, the reason they included the ladder, I think, is because of what's called pacing a game, which is, like you said, there were 2 boss fights in the span of 20 minutes. It was meant to be very intensive. And so the game also was looking for a sort of interlude, something to remind you that basically so the first act, right, the virtuous mission. The second act was the sort of setting of the plot. And now we enter the third and final act of the game, even though you can see there's still a lot of plot that's got to happen still.
There are hordes of animals, and Snake is an expert in putting down animals. You crawl around a lot until you reach the camp where you are pursued by a helicopter. Stealthily and expertly, you make your way to the main base camp, which is patrolled by guards. Then the problem sorts itself out and you reach the end. Snake enters the secret tunnel and finds his solid snake. Donkey Kong's is back, and not voiced because I don't know a woman. Snake uses his male powers to read her dodgeballs, and they tell him how to enter a secret tunnel to Groznygrad. There, he must steal a uniform from a femboy, rescue Sokolov, and make his escape. Then she bikes off a fucking cliff and dies. You look down at the base and see Palpatine. Fuck you, Barrel, you're the worst PewDiePie character.
Actually, Russian boxing, or Soviet boxing back in the era was pretty important. He looked like he was actually using like pretty sound boxing techniques, so I think that may be part of the lore.
Colonel, please help me. I can't stop walking like I have to take a shit. I literally killed a person, you fucking idiot. What? This is why we don't have sex, Ocelot. All communists may be gay, but I'm not gay for you. So after that shenaniganery, you exit the mountainside and enter the tunnel. Kinda cool how Snake had to climb a mountaintop and then leave it after 20 minutes.
Hashtag waste his time.
Hey there, Snake. I know that you're expecting a gimmick or a funny voice, but there is no gimmick. I'm just here to kill you. Bitch. It's time to fight another boss of given intelligence. The theory works by trying to figure out where you are and then failing. Though I would consider it a difficult boss because if you are found, you're fucked. Much like the Pain, you rely on this boss being unable to understand Piaget's water conservation task. The boss isn't very
That's you should look it up. It's pretty funny.
interesting. His fight goes down to a cycle of 3 steps: shooting, running, and praying. Do this enough and you'll win.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
He's dead. Oh boy, another ladder. Great. Welcome to Groznygrad.
I hope no one looks at my plans while I'm sleeping.
You sneak through the outer sections until you get indoors. You put on your disguise and it actually works this time. Did I mention Snake can do blackface in this game? You run around for 10 hours looking.
Whoa, it is from the 60s. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. If you are already infiltrating and doing an unauthorized intelligence operation inside a country that you are not at war with, guess what? The law of war is off. So there is zero reason to not be disguised as a friendly, as a non-hostile person. In this case, probably a Russian, soldier of some kind, or kill someone, steal their uniform, steal their badge, anything. Anything is going to be better than wearing American camouflage with literal gear that says U.S. on it. Listen, the Geneva Convention went out the window when you were airdropped into an ostensive country you're not at war with.
For a femboy, seriously, where the fuck is he? When you finally find one, you walk towards him normally, knock him out, and then shove him in a locker like a nerd.
Raiden, squeeze my hog.
Now Snake is revered and respected across Discord.com. Using your newfound access, you head to the interrogation room to find a very confused Sokolov. He tells you that it's too late. The giant robot is ready for battle, and the Soviets no longer need him. The only course of action left is to destroy the prototype, because schematics don't exist, apparently. Snake is therefore left with a choice. Save Sokolov, or find a bomb to destroy the Shagohod. Volgan.
So, here's the thing to remember. Yes, you can rebuild things, but sometimes advanced weapon prototypes, as we've seen in the case of Russia, Russia has a lot of advanced weapons, but they lack the resources to build them in any numbers. They literally have a tank that probably can compete with the Abrams, but they have like less than 10 of them. Same with their fighter jets. They have 5th generation fighters, but it's not clear that they even are able to keep them flying, right? Because of the intensive logistics behind doing that. So the point is that destroying the Shagohod may actually be a viable reason, because even if you had the schematics, the Soviet Union may not have had the advanced manufacturing capabilities to do more than one.
Enters the chamber, so Snake is forced to don the disguise again. Where have you been, kitten? Daddy's been waiting in Discord VC for 3 fucking hours now. Wait a fucking second. Kitten has a bent penis. He shoots Sokolov for no reason, so you take him down. Then the boss shows up again for no reason. Snake is extremely shit at this. Then Palpatine gets in on the fun. It looks like this. What the fuck is happening in here?
Okay, the headbutts aren't part of real boxing. They sort of are. You can sometimes do it, and if the ref's not looking. Because oftentimes when you box, especially if you box in the pocket, you sort of hunker down, forehead forward, right? Gloves up, protecting your head, and you fight. It's called in the pocket or in the phone booth. And you just sort of are going for the body, you're throwing hooks to the head. The opponent is literally touching you. So it's not a big deal to just pop them in the nose a little bit.
Tell me, American, you're after the OnlyFans, aren't you? What are you talking about? I don't think he knows, dude. He doesn't. He tells you that all of his power and resources comes from the possession of Ava's OnlyFans. The OnlyFans is worth $100 billion, meaning more people than exist on Earth have a $10 subscription. The boss and Ava arrive, but that doesn't matter. Fuck these people. Palpatine insists that you're after the OnlyFans, which is his true source of power. Then he literally reveals the location to you.
In the underground vault of Groznygrad.
This compels Ocelot to do his dumbass juggling game. Oh, oopsie poopsie. Alright, that was pretty cool, I guess. Got to see Guy's eye pop off today. Take him to the jail cell. Now, American, tell me. Is it illegal to clap in America? You have been in prison. Please stop talking. You have...
Yeah, this actually happens in lore. They just take out his eye for no reason.
Been imprisoned in the fortress, and now you must make your escape.
FYI, guys, if you really lost an eye, you would have no depth perception, and it would really kind of ruin your ability to be a secret agent.
Like an
in the vein of Snake, right? If you were to be a actual secret agent where you just sort of recruit insiders to, you know, give you secrets in exchange for money, that would be easy. You don't really need depth perception to do that.
Infant, you decide to hide under the bed. When he doesn't buy that shit, you bust through the doors like a gorilla and kill him. It's time to head to your escape route with the fuzz and hot pursuit. You prepare yourself for a slow and stealthy crawl across the base, but then you realize that Snake takes no damage from bullets, so it's in God's hands now. Then you find a machine gun in a room and the game gets really exciting. You enter the sewers, oh shit, a dog. You enter the sewers and make a beeline for the exit as fast as you can.
See, this is, of course, a reference to The Fugitive. Kojima loves these sort of movies.
Oh, Snake, it seems you have nowhere to go. How fortunate for me. Now you'll just have to answer all of my questions. Oh my god, he's going to ask me something stupid. Is it true that in capitalist America, the army is conscripted to fight giant tumbleweeds? Answer me, or else. Okay, fine. What? You win this time, American. So you leap off the fucking cliff and die. I'm serious, you're literally dead. So Snake is taken to the fucking afterlife. I was thinking that being dead would phase him more. Then it begins to rain in hell.
Yep. This is part of the lore. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think is so cool about this series is that while none of the characters or things that happen make any like sense in the conventional sense, the philosophy underlying a lot of it is actually like really true. It's sort of like how Platoon, right? You have oh my gosh, Sergeant Barnes and William Dafoe's character. You have these two NCOs, right, who are like in charge of the squad, and they're like competing. They represent the two sides of warfare, right? The sort of noble side, the doing things the right way, and the side of like cruelty and inhumanity. So while a real squad would never have two NCOs like this in such direct conflict, the symbolism says something that's really true about the war experience. And Metal Gear Solid 3 does this a ton. I don't know how, because Kojima's a fucking nerd.
Have you ever seen Danny Phantom? What? Guns don't work in hell, dumbass. You're just like me, Snake. Edgy as all hell. You've killed literally dozens of guards in order to get shots for your stupid fucking video. Now, you will see the suffering that you cause. Crikey! No, fuck, I didn't want to go up. Stop!
This is the Sorrow boss fight. The developers figured out that you could avoid having a chimp boss by not having any boss at all. He shows you all the guards that you've killed along your journey, which is most of them. He even remembered each individual bead. The more people you've killed, the harder the battle. It's behind me, isn't it? Then you walk for 3 hours. I didn't know birds had souls. And when the moment is darkest and Snake is on the verge of forever death, someone begins playing Linkin Park, so Snake comes back to life to turn it off. Now we must sneak through the jungle with no equipment besides our bare instincts. You expertly evade your enemies before beating them up some more and running behind a waterfall. Ava shows up behind the waterfall after her spine was reattached. Then she sexily gives her weapons back. You chill for a bit before she's like, Snake, are you fucking gay? The internet witch begs you to give her more money, but Snake is trained.
Can't even eat a snake during a mission, huh?
I wouldn't mind eating you.
Whoa. Okay, OnlyFans creator. whatever. I respect the hustle, man. It's hard to get that bread out there. And shout out to anyone who has an OnlyFans and makes that bread.
She tries the physical contact route, but he never breaks. Even after undergoing CBT, he remains unbreakable. Snake waves goodbye to the thought, but she gives him explosives out of respect. Later, bitch. You take the tunnel to Groznygrad and go up a ladder! Whoa! Now you're back. You sneak through the tank yard. Fuck! You sneak past the extremely aware guards. Enter the weapons lab, disguise yourselves, reach the tank, and kill everyone. Oh, okay, fine. You disguise as a different person, then systematically knock everyone out with your stanky breath. Finally, you place the explosives and get ready to leave. Except for the fact that Palpatine just appears again. The boss beats you up for no reason.
Snake, what the fuck are you wearing? Am I in a goddamn Jiffy Lube?
Oh, good, you got him. Now tell me, American.
Yeah, you would have no chance. If she beat you up with 2 good eyes, you're never gonna make it with 1 good eye. You just won't perceive the depth perception accurate. You won't be able to, say, grab a wrist or an arm.
Capitalist America. Shut up, Ocelot. This bitch tried to swipe her OnlyFans for me, but I got that shit on lock. Why are you all panicking? All the passwords, all the 2FA, I got that shit right here. I will now switch this radio to the low-res model. I no longer need you, Ava. Your OnlyFans is enough to fund communism 1,000 times over. Cringe. What the fuck are you saying? How about I lay it out in a way that you can understand, you unfresh bonobo?
Wow, unfresh. That's a Zoomer insult right there.
Communism is when the government gives people health care. And the more health care the government gives, the more communister it is. My plan is to use this money to give health care to every man, woman, and child in the world, and therefore force them to adopt communism. I will ensure that the government takes every toothbrush, every iPhone, and every stock market and burns them along with every starving Ukrainian. Once the Soviet Union stands supreme as leader of the world's nations and the top provider of healthcare, I will rename the earth to Venezuela and inflate our...
This is what Republicans actually believe. No, not all of them. I think there's 1 or 2 that are still like reasonable human beings.
Currency until the end of time to destroy all of the small business owners and mom and pop landlords. I have my Shagohod tank, which will rain a nuclear fire upon a new red world.
I don't even remember his actual motivation.
You will fight me now, Snake, and I will win. For a specter is haunting Europe. Take the OnlyFans somewhere safe. I have one last loose end to deal with.
Okay, I'm just gonna point this out. It's sort of dumb, you may think, to be the leader of a major organization and have billions of dollars in the in the actual lore. It's called the Philosopher's Legacy, and it is like gazillions and gazillions of dollars. But imagine you're basically just a high-level officer, right? You're sort of a paper pusher. You're surrounded by other drunk, crooked officers. And you are still just like an avid boxer. You are just trained and you're training and training. You never get to fight anybody anymore, right? Maybe you were a junior officer in World War II where you were just like killing Germans by the dozen. There's a part of you that just wants to fucking fight somebody. Just like one time, just hand to hand with some enemy combatant. I kind of get it. I kind of get it now.
Welcome to the Palpatine Boss, where 90% of the fight is him standing still. Also, you have a time limit before the base explodes. The best maneuver here is to do the classic Dark Souls circle strafing, and if you shoot at him, he gets mad. The actual way to beat him is by frontal hand-to-hand combat, where upon you shoot him on the floor. You gotta do this a lot. Palpatine is swole as fuck. Phase 2 starts, and Ocelot doesn't do shit. Hey boss, pull my finger. No. Phase 2 begins, and Palpatine is new.
This is actually a good reminder of how actual, inner service, inner governmental, inner corporate politics work. And this is the idea that ultimately loyalty, once you're past a certain level and the stakes are high, loyalty doesn't really exist. It's sort of like, you ever notice how when grandma dies, siblings that love each other deeply will just like throw their love and their lifetime of family connections in the fucking trash to get grandma's pension money, right? And it's usually not that much. It's like a few hundred thousand dollars after like bills, you know, enough to like pay down your single family home. Like that's it. You're going to burn your relationship with your brother so you don't have a mortgage anymore. Like, okay, bro, sure. But this is sort of multiply that by 1,000 when it comes to things like corporations or major governmental organizations. And this is the idea that like no one's going to help you if there's not an incentive for them to do so. Everyone is motivated by their desire for power and money and influence, right? Power and influence are kind of the same thing. And so, yeah, it makes sense that at his most desperate hour, when he's at his most powerless, someone who never really liked him anyway and wants to take what he has is going to exploit that and stick it to him.
New bullshit. Fortunately for you, he's defeated by the same old bullshit. You flip him harder than the state of Georgia for a few hours, and that's how you win.
Ah, poor guy.
Snake climbs up a ladder and leaves him to explode. Upon exiting the building, the Ethot arrives on her motorized bicycle. Both of them leave hundreds of people to die horribly. You look back at the burning wreck and Palpatine gets pissed as fuck.
Snake, you capitalist dumbass, were you too busy drinking Coca-Cola to kill me? When I'm done with your toothbrush, I'll take all your fucking teeth next.
So you drive away really fast. So fast, in fact, that's really disorientating. What the fuck is going on? Can you tell me where I am in the base? Eventually, I figured out that I can change the camera and the scenes start making more sense, but only slightly since Snake looks like he's stuck on a fucking slide. Ocelot appears in the corner with more questions, so we have to leave as fast as possible. Fucker's not letting his free Atlas go to waste. He plays fun bumper cars with you before trying to release you from the clutches of Simpery. And when that doesn't work, he just tries to kill you. Now we're in a chase scene with infinite ammo, and Snake just looks like he's lost. Is he just like uncomfortable, or what? You fly through the base, leaving a trail of death and destruction in your wake. And when you reach the runway, the fucker catches up to you. A chase ensues, which only reiterates Snake's bullet.
Yeah, these sort of hype over-the-top action scenes, this is another homage to like 1950s spy movies, right? They all end with these sort of ultra high-octane action scenes.
You go across a bridge
and modern Bond movies aren't any different, right?
Blow it up, mostly to stop Ocelot. Palpatine falls into the river and then forgets that he fell. Welcome to the tank boss fight. My favorite, everyone loves it. You decide to play the tank boss fight until you want to kill yourself. Palpatine, sensing suicidal intent, gets out of the tank and then punches it. Twice. Now we're at the part of the game where you have to hit a small target moving on a fast tank with a sniper rifle using only a flimsy controller. I'm not mad. To combat this new strategy, you skip to the part of the video where he has low health and dies.
You don't just look away. If rounds are cooking off, it's, again, as we talked about, they're little explosives. They could easily fly at you.
Thank God he's dead for real this time. Now Gorbachev can sell the Soviet Union for pizza and peace. Snake donates for a hug and aliens come to take them.
That was a real commercial, by the way. Yeah, imagine it. The Soviet premiere starring in a fucking commercial. Yeah, welcome.
Down. The final chase scene ensues where I figured out that I can get Snake to scream a lot by firing the machine gun. An action-packed chase ensues where Snake literally cannot stop screaming. Really, you can hear it in the background of every single clip that appears on screen. Snake, do you need help? You are very stiff. Eventually, Snake's screaming catches up to him and he ruptures a hole in the fuel tank using sound waves alone. It's a good thing women can't drive or that would be a problem. Now you're both severely wounded from the crash and you have to babysit this woman. Snake's paternal instinct soon caused him to fall into the clutches of the E-boobs.
Eva, I need you.
Got him.
You perform surgery on her and now she has to follow you. Oh, take your time, Eva. It's not like the Russians are coming to murder me or anything. Hurry up! This section can be annoying, but I figured out how to walk through it without most encounters. Did I mention that this bitch walks slowly? You get through after hours of rigorous combat and you find her influencer jet. She tells you that the boss told her to...
Yeah, listen, you become a mega eager... Listen, I've seen some of what OnlyFans creators make. And yeah, some of them are making private jet money.
Tell you to go into
chartered private jet money, but still.
The laggy field of flowers and commit murder. Don't know why. Snake enters Bloodborne for the PS4 and gets his ass irradiated again.
It's beautiful, isn't it, Snake? You've fallen for her, haven't you? I thought I raised you better than this, Snake. Better than her.
What a disappointment to your mother to fall in love with a Ethot, an OnlyFans girl. She doesn't know who you are.
I raised you to be gay, Snake. The ultimate soldier against Simpery. I knew about the terror that the OnlyFans would bring upon this world, and this is only one of the results. Snake, I faked my defection to get the OnlyFans that no one in the world could ever have it again. Not even you. See this scar, Snake? I tried to get surgery to become an e-girl, and look what it did to me.
Okay, I don't know who this other creator is, but the fact that this is like loosely correct to lore is fucking bananas. No. Obviously, it's not over the e-girl thing, but the fake defection, yeah.
No one can be allowed to have this money. Not you, nor anyone ever again. And if you want to please your e-girl so much, then you will have to take it from me.
Okay.
One of us must die here.
Okay, the actual thesis is that instead of being a simp for e-girls, she's basically arguing like, you're a simp for this country that does not give a fuck about you. And I think this is the ultimate message around this game, why I think it speaks so much, is because it's like, man, your whole life, your whole existence is dedicated to being a soldier, and like you're so meaningless to your government who thinks your life is just like something to do on a goof. Like, think about it. The US invaded Iraq on a goof. It killed 2,000 of its own citizens, of its own soldiers, right? Because it invaded Iraq on a goof, like because they kind of felt like it.
Snake.
You start the battle and notice that the PS3 emulator is really fucking laggy here. So Snake teleports into a different fucking console where he's wearing a banana suit. The rest of this battle takes place in the PS2 dimension. You own the boss by letting her grab you and then filling her full of lead. She'll do this and then run away, so you follow her, wait to be found, and then do the same thing again. If I was trying to be stealthy, she'd probably forget where I was. That is actually how the boss works. You figure it out within 2 seconds and you beat the boss in 1 minute.
That is literally a banana suit, yeah. I'm into it.
Take it, you simping dumbass.
I'll always remember you as being based, boss.
Take the gun and fucking shoot me, so I never have to hear that word again. You are a disgrace and an imbecile. Snake, hurry up.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. She doesn't call Snake an idiot. Okay, this is one of those weird things that I think about sometimes, where sometimes you hear a message or you get all the information, but you're not ready to like put it together and draw the conclusion. And so like mentors that you have, I always wonder, like, did they try to tell me things and I didn't understand it until years later? And I wonder if that's what's supposed to be written into this scene. If the boss is trying to tell Snake, like you have to break the cycle of like brave, valiant, noble soldiers fighting for dirtbag politicians who are just like narcissist succophants. Right? Like nothing is more twisted in this world than like good people dying on behalf of shitheels. And if Snake just like his brain, he just like doesn't seem to give a shit about it. And so he just like kills her. But she has to have like faith that eventually Snake will see what she's seen.
Turn on the aircraft and it seems like the fight is over. Ava has her OnlyFans back and the Soviet plan is foiled, but Snake is forgetting something very important. Did you forget about me? Because I have more questions for you. Oh, how kind of you to invite me in. Oh, how rude of you. Tell me, do all Americans wear bananas? Is it a cultural thing? I suppose not.
The irony of the banana is, of course, that there is a joke that the Soviet Union never, the USSR, communist countries, they never had access to bananas. They couldn't grow them in any country that would sell them. So it meant that when the Iron Curtain fell and Western imports were able to be sold in the Soviet Union, for the first time, a lot of people got access to a banana. But the joke, or this apocryphal story, is that no one behind the Iron Curtain actually knew what a banana was supposed to look like. So you could sell them any exotic fruit and tell them it was a banana. Someone sold like a zucchini and told them it was a banana. Which is weird because like it sounds like Cuba could grow a banana and would have, you know, exported it to the USSR.
I didn't fall down. Shut up. Why don't we settle this the cowboy way? I'll play as the cowboy and you as the chicken. I should load my guns more. So Ocelot decides to play a game where only one of the guns is loaded, but you get to choose the gun. I didn't watch when he was juggling them, so righty-tighty, lefty-loose. Haha, it's a blank, American. I wouldn't dare kill you, because I have one more question. In capitalist America, do you think that an ocelot and a snake could find love?
Oh, man. Metal Gear Solid 1 reference.
Is it possible? That's cringe. Okay, bye. So you fly back to the US and then teleport to her influencer cabin where Snake's autistic ass is finally able to have sex. One symptom of autism is avoiding eye contact. Snake wakes up in the morning and Ava is nowhere to be seen. He turns over a postcard that says goodbye and finds a videotape. Snake turns it on with the player and it tells me that she left me, that she took all the money. She just used me to get her OnlyFans back and threw me away like garbage afterwards.
Can't simp. You need to put that shit on a shirt.
The boss was right about her. About the OnlyFans. She was trying to save me. She was trying to save me. And I didn't listen. I'm sorry, boss. I'm sorry. I let you down.
Damn, that sort of hurts.
You are above even the boss.
Yeah, this is... Here's the other thing. So in the first Metal Gear Solid, they had a US native speaker translate the Japanese, and he tweaked some things to give it a sort of naturalness, to make it sound normal to a US audience. But Hideo Kojima was furious when he learned how much had changed. He didn't just word for word translate it. So here they didn't do that, right? They translated like much closer to Hideo Kojima's word for word script, which meant that all the dialogue is basically cringe.
I hereby award you the title of Big Boss.
As the president awards you the dumbest fucking name ever, he goes to shake your hand, but you refuse it. He and men like him will stomp on the memory of the boss until the end of time. You walk out, but all the morals of your mission seem lost to you now. A distant memory of a time where a mission could be virtuous. Despite all the pictures, all the photos, and all the medals, Snake is now utterly alone in this world. The only thing left for him now is a beautiful garden containing a grave of the only person in the world.
That's actually, it's okay. He misses this. It's Arlington National Cemetery. It is a place where all soldiers who die are authorized to be buried. When I actually deployed, I had to fill out a will, and I requested that if I died on my deployment that I would be buried in Arlington. Obviously, the boss has someone who betrayed her country, right? If you haven't served honorably, you cannot be buried there. So instead, it's a unmarked grave.
Gave his life meaning.
Right, so like that's sort of the point, is like the final statement is that you know, the boss who served her country with just honor and loyalty, ultimately, even in death, can't get the basic modicum of respect given to soldiers.
All that remains of her now are memories of a time long since past, a time where the world was simpler, a time of based and cringe.
Oh man. Oh, Beatzer. I don't know who Beatzer is. Oh man, Remy Down Under was the sorrow. Oh neat. So Mio? Okay, I don't know who that is. And Maxer was everyone else. Of course it was. All right, well, guys, that was fun. Let me know if you want me to do like a real breakdown of sort of the symbolism and the philosophy and how it ties into real war about Metal Gear Solid 3. It really is one of the best video games ever made and actually speaks a lot of truths about war. Just sort of the way Metal Gear Solid 2 ended up, people didn't realize at the time, but spoke to some like really important truths about the nature of information and information control. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Oh, and thanks to our Patreons. If you want access to some spicy breakdowns, you want to become a member of the Patreon. See you in the next one.